You know what? This show today really jumps out of the deck. This is a review of the DECWARE Zen Sarah 300B Class A integrated amplifier. Yep, a 300B tube amplifier from DECWARE. This is the first time Steve Deckert, the designer, has tackled the 300B. And he's so proud of this amplifier, he named it after his daughter, Sarah. This one is taking me to places I've never experienced before listening to a hi-fi at home. How's that for a biggie, you know? So I've been taking my time. I've had the amp for over a month. I listen to it and take notes way more than I ever have before, I think, for any review I've ever done. Because there's just so much more to think about and talk about and feel and experience listening to the Sarah amplifier. Now, I had mentioned, I think in another video recently, that when I was listening to a Beatles album, and I wish I could tell you which one it was, but I can't because I don't remember, but George Harrison was singing the lead vocal, and I had this feeling that I finally heard what George really sounded like. He was just more there, more present, more full-bodied. There he is, right there between the two speakers. Now, by the way, I used two different sets of speakers over most of this review. The Zoo DW6, the Dirty Weekend 6, and the Pure Audio Project Duet 15. These are both very high sensitivity speakers, and that's important because this amplifier, like all 300B amplifiers, is limited to about 7 or 8 watts per channel. Class A watts, and that counts for a lot. Actually, this amplifier, this is interesting, this amplifier uses 9 tubes. That's a lot of tubes. And when I mentioned this to my friend Herb Reichert, he said, this is a classic Herb, he said, yeah, an amplifier with a lot of tubes sounds more tubey. It has more of what makes tube amplifiers sound the way they do. It's a different thing than solid state amplifiers. I didn't say better, I said different. And that's what it comes down to. So this amplifier is the most tubelicious, delicious amplifier I have ever heard in my listening room. It just is. And because it has all these different types of tubes that are not usually seen in tube amplifiers, like those 3 little tubes right in the front, those are voltage regulator tubes. And they really impart a certain sound to the amplifier. And Steve sent along 3 different types of voltage regulator tubes, and changing them from one to the other really did change the amp in a big way, and they're not expensive tubes. Now the 300B tubes, the big ones in the back there, Steve sent along the best 300Bs around, pretty much everybody agrees, the Western Electric 300Bs, which were also the most expensive ones, at least the most expensive that I know. But he also sent along some really inexpensive Chinese tubes. And you know what? The inexpensive Chinese tubes, and some other 300Bs in between, the inexpensive Chinese tubes weren't bad, man. They sounded really good. They had some of that 300B tube magic. So anyway, it was fun to just mix and match different combinations of tubes. Now, by the way, the Western Electric tubes are expensive tubes. They sell for $1,500 a pair. But there's a lot of reasons why they are absolutely worth $1,500 a pair. First of all, they come with a 5-year warranty. Now, usually tube warranties, if they have them at all, are 90 days. This one comes with a 5-year warranty, and its rated life expectancy is 40,000 hours. So anyway, there's that to consider. And I will give you a spoiler alert. Yes, the Western Electric was the best sounding 300B tube I used in the course of this review. But the others weren't bad. They weren't bad at all. Very, very enjoyable. But they won't last anywhere near 40,000 hours. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. There was a lot to think about. So this is part 1 of this review. And I will do part 2 in 3 or 4 weeks I'm shooting for. But anyway, I'm going to give you a lot of information in this review right now. And yeah, there will be an audiophiliac viewer system of the day later on in this episode. Also noteworthy, the Zen Sarah comes with a lifetime warranty. You got that right, a lifetime warranty. Let's take a peek inside the Zen Sarah amplifier, and you will note there are no printed circuit boards. It's all point-to-point wiring because Steve DECWARE, like many other people that design tube amplifiers, believe that it sounds better to use point-to-point rather than a printed circuit board. And you'll also see some very expensive capacitors, copper foil caps, just first-class parts choice going on inside the amplifier. So let's take a look at the specifications. I'll let that linger on the screen for a little bit. And note that this amplifier is capable of driving 2 ohm loads. 2 ohms. Now, a lot of solid-state amplifiers would struggle. This amplifier can do it. So if you have low impedance speakers, not a problem. Now, of course, they have to be fairly high sensitivity speakers to make this marriage between the Zen Sarah amp and your speakers work. So you're not going to use this amplifier with Magnepans, which are extremely low sensitivity speakers, or most electrostatic speakers, or lots of box speakers that are low sensitivity, meaning 85, 86, 87 dB. That's not going to work. Not going to be a happy ending, let's put it that way. The Zen Sarah amp, like all DECWARE amplifiers, is sold direct by DECWARE with a 30-day return policy. And by the way, if you need more than 30 days because you're busy or something, they will extend it to longer than 30 days. The wood base is solid hardwood, 1.5 inches thick, cherry, oak, maple, 3 other finishes that I can't recall off the top of my head. That's really nice. Now, as for the price of the amplifier, the basic price, meaning without any tubes at all, is $4,200. Now, you can buy it for an extra $630. You can have a full set of tubes, all 9 tubes, including Chinese 300Bs, for $630. Or, here's the last tube option, you can buy the tube set excluding the 300Bs for $480. Now, one other advantage of buying the tubes from DECWARE is that they measure and test the amplifier with the tubes installed when it goes through its QC. So that's a nice little thing. Or you could buy it without any tubes and roll your own. A very important detail here is that the amplifier is self-biasing, meaning you do not have to bias tubes when you change tubes. Stick in any 300B and you're good to go. So you don't have to be technical to own this amplifier to adjust or tweak the settings of the tubes. Not a problem. We got to talk about some downsides to this design. Starting with, there's only 2 inputs, 2 RCA inputs. That might not be enough for you. Actually, it is enough for me. I listen to digital or I listen to a turntable, and that's it. So there's only 2 sets of RCA inputs. Nice RCA inputs and really nice binding posts, by the way. But anyway, 2 sets of inputs might be crowding you a bit. And there's no remote control. And the volume controls for the left and right channel are separate. So every time you change one, you sort of have to change the other. And that can be a drag. You get used to it. I got up, changed the volume of both. I sat back down, and I was fine. But there is a rather obvious workaround solution. And that is, even though this is an integrated amplifier, you can use it with a separate preamplifier. Okay, so there you go. That's a pretty straight ahead solution. You use a separate preamp, you got the remote control, you can use more inputs, you don't have to adjust left and right channels separately, and everything is groovy. And in some ways, I would say using the Sarah with a separate preamplifier does change the sound in ways that some people will prefer. And that is, the Sarah sounds more powerful, more weighty, has more bottom end kick to it with a separate preamplifier driving the Zen Sarah. And I listen to it maybe a third of the time that way with the LTA preamplifier driving the Zen Sarah. And I liked it. But then when I would switch back to no external preamplifier and just go straight in to the Zen Sarah, the sound was more transparent. The soundstage opened up more. It was clear. The spaces between the instruments, all that sort of stuff was definitely better without an external preamp. So, you know, I know you want everything all at the same time, and maybe using a different preamplifier, that would sound different. But that's the preamplifier that I use as the external preamp to the Zen Sarah. So as for the sound with, let's say, the Dirty Weekend 6, the Zoo Dirty Weekend 6, I was floored. Now, I'm a big fan of Zoo speakers. I've been using them on and off for, I don't know, 15 years or so. I've never heard one sound like this tonally. It was more satisfying. Mids were so much more well-developed, richer sounding, more body, more substance, more density to the sound. The highs were very clear, very beautiful sounding, and rhythm and pace and just moving the music's forward momentum was so great with this amplifier driving the Dirty Weekend 6. So I was playing this Cal Jada record and listening to this, Latin jazz, and just the instruments, the vibes, all that stuff had a real snap to it, real liveliness. This is a tube amplifier, but it doesn't sound slow or mushy. No, it's very, very clear, very transparent, great match with Zoo speakers. Then I also used it, of course, with my main reference speaker, which is the Pure Audio Project Duet 15. And that has a 15-inch woofer, and it did a great job. It sounded very full range, very powerful sounding. But here's the thing, 7 watts is not going to drive even a very high sensitivity speaker like this one. This is not for headbangers. This isn't like a party animal, just blast away. No, I'm sorry. 7 watts, even with the Pure Audio Project, is not for people who want to rock out and just feel the room shaking. And I'm listening to this Laurie Anderson concert on LP that I was present at the concert. I was in the audience. It was a live recording session, and it was phenomenal. And Laurie sings, talks, and again, that like she is right there. That right there, there's all of Laurie, was staggering. Like, it's just amazing. The recording made 40 years ago can sound this good. And I played reggae. I've been in a Bob Marley / Studio One mode lately, and I'm just amazed by the Zoo and the Zen Sarah's combination in terms of rhythm and pace and forward momentum and energy. It can really, really do that. So what this combination does so well is just sounding right, sounding natural, organic. And the spaces between the instruments in the soundstage, in terms of coming forward and going back, it just does that so well. The Pure Audio Project with a bigger woofer, with 15-inch woofers, yeah, it made a lot more bass. It had a lot more oomph to the sound, more weight. It could fill the room better. It could play louder. Again, not super loud, but louder with real gusto. It was phenomenal. So right now, I'm gonna stop for now. Like I said, this is part 1 of this review. I'm gonna come back in 3 or 4 weeks and continue. But right now, I'm going to continue with the Audiophiliac viewer system of the day. This system comes to us from Patrick. He lives in San Diego, California. His turntable is a Riga P10 with an Amphion 2 cartridge. Phonostage EAT EGLO. There's a Hi-Fi Rose 250 DAC along with a Rose CD transport. Prima Luna Evo 300 preamp. Prima Luna Evo 300 power amp, currently rolling Mullard KT88 tubes. And of course, there's the star of the show, the Klipsch corner horn speakers. Thank you, Patrick. Alrighty, we are back. My name is Steve Guttenberg, and I am the Audiophiliac. I hope, well, if you've gotten to this far in the video, I guess you like what I'm doing. Please, if you have yet to do so, consider joining my Patreon. I would really appreciate it. You can join for just a couple of bucks a month, up to $50 or $100 a month. Anyway, lots more information on my Patreon page. The address is on the screen right now. And if you just like the video, please hit that like button. It matters a lot to me and the YouTube algorithm. And subscribe to the channel if you have yet to do so. And with that, I can say, yeah, my work here is at least, and with that I can say, yeah, my work here is at last complete. Thank you again for watching, and I really, really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.